Hello, kindergartners. Normally, the letter that we would be doing today, the next one to do with our stories, would be angry alligator. However, that is one of the more difficult pictures to make. So we're going to wait on that one. We'll do that one a little bit later after we've had some more practice making pictures. And today we're going to do the golden goose, our story from this week. So you're going to need, of course, a golden sort of color. I usually use yellow for that. And then you're going to need also something for the goose's bill, like we've been reading in Green Hill Farm. So I'm just going to get a regular old orange for that. And then you'll need a color for the border and the background. Go ahead and get those and we'll start making our picture. All right. I am going to use this light green color from my border and go around just like we've done before. Make that border all the way around. Now, while the golden goose is an easier picture to make than the angry alligator, G is a letter that a lot of people have trouble making. So when you make the G picture, we're going to think really carefully about the parts of it. Remember, when we're making a G, the first thing that we do is we have that big curve to the bottom, just like a C. That's why it's one of the magic C letters. And just like O with Oliver Octopus, even though it starts in the middle, the first thing that magic C curve is going to do is to go back toward that smiley face side. So even right now, while you're just working on your border, go ahead and think for a minute, where would your smiley face be? It would be right over in that corner, wouldn't it? And then remember, we like to use our eyes by looking at the whole thing for a while and then going in sort of close with our eyes right to where we're drawing. Not that, of course, we really move our whole head around in our eyes, but I might focus my eyes right here for a little bit where I'm actually putting color onto the paper. And then I'll let my eyes flick out and kind of see the whole thing all at once. So as I'm doing that, it gives me the chance to kind of glance up and see where my smiley face side would be and glance up and see where I would start in the middle on my picture. So with G, we have that big curve that's going to start in the middle and go back over to the smiley face. And then when it gets down to the bottom, it's going to go straight up. You know, when we do lowercase letters, we talk about going up like a helicopter. We're kind of going to do that in G. It's going to be the size of a little line, and it's going to go straight up. Some people kind of curve the bottoms of their G's, and they start to look like backwards sixes. So we're going to try to make sure that our big curve comes right down to a nice strong point, and then our little line will be able to go right straight up. And we won't end up looking like we made a six backwards. Oh, I've got some crayons rolling around on me. All right. Now, one other thing about the golden goose, it might be one of the easier pictures to draw, but the story for that one was kind of long, wasn't it? And you guys did a really great work by keeping your stamina, by having your brain thinking about the story all the way through with that golden goose. Where Dimling went and he cut wood in the forest, and the girls grabbed onto the goose, and the preacher grabbed onto the goose, and the farmers grabbed onto the goose, and then the princess laughed, and then he had to do all those jobs for the king. That was a long one. All right, so here I am, finished with my border, and I'm going to pause for a minute. I'm going to check around and see, does it feel pretty even to me? I feel like I kind of have a light spot right there, so I'm going to add a little bit more color right there. Make that be a little more even. All right. So now I'm going to get my yellow, my nice golden color, but you could use orange for a gold, or sometimes if people have lots and lots of crayons at home, they have one that actually says it's gold, and you can do that. Now, sometimes, remember, we make our letter and we have to fit a head up on top of it. With the golden goose, the edge of the letter is actually going to be part of the head, so we don't have to stick a head up on top of the golden goose. Now, just like with the comfortable cat and with Oliver Octopus, getting these big curves can be a little tricky. It's not quite as hard with D because we've already done the big line down to kind of anchor it. But when we're doing C and O and G, and we don't even have a big line to kind of work with, I like to pause and pick up my crayon and look a lot, especially because right now, this light that I have gives me a big shadow. So you're going to see me a whole lot with my hand. Pick up my hand and check to see how my curve is doing here. It's easier, of course, if we make it smaller, but we really want for our picture to kind of take up a lot of the page. And I'm making it really dark because, especially with this golden goose, you know, this yellow color, it can sort of disappear into the white. So I want to make sure I'm getting all that in there. All right, so here I have now my big curve, and now I'm going to do my little line straight up, right? So we don't usually talk about up like a helicopter when we're talking about capital letters. With capital letters, we talk about our 4 parts. Do you remember them? We have 2 of them in the golden goose. We have the big curve, and then we have the little line, so it'll go up almost halfway on my big curve here. There's my little line up. Remember, you can pause the video to catch up with me if you need to. And now I'm going to jump backwards over this direction, right? Because we want to write this way as much as I can. So I've come up to here, and now I'm going to jump this way and do my little line across the middle. And there it is. Now I've made my G, and what I'm going to do now is turn it into my goose. Now, this goose, it's going to help you to think about it. If you think about the goose kind of having its head turned back this way. So we're going to be putting its tail out here, and its head is also going to be looking back. So the first thing I'm going to do is kind of fill in this part here with the body of my goose. And I'm still using my same golden yellow color because, you know, the whole goose was golden. But you can see I'm not pushing as hard here. And that's going to give me a lighter gold color. And that way it'll still be really easy to see my G even when I see the golden goose. So here we are. And we've got this G here. Now I'm going to add some tail out this way, you know, because otherwise that's kind of a really short, squatty little goose. So I'm going to add a little bit up like so, out like this. And can you see I'm still doing it a lighter color yellow than the G. So I'm not pushing as hard on my crayon, doing the rest of the goose's body as I push on my crayon when I make the letter. So there's the main body of the goose, and now I'm going to do the goose's head. So this is the goose's nice, big, long, strong neck. You know, geese are really strong. And so I'm going to give it a little bit of a face coming down like this, just sort of sloping it a little. Can you see that? So that it can come into the bill. And then I'm going to switch over here to the orange, just so we can really see, right? Because a goose has a nice bill for snapping up all kinds of worms and bugs and whatever else they might find down in the water there. Bread, maybe, that somebody comes to give them. All right, now you don't have to, because I usually think of this goose as sitting down. It didn't do very much in the story, but sometimes people like to put feet on it. So I'm going to go ahead and use that orange that I used for its bill to add some feet down here to the bottom. We're going to be putting feet on one of them a little later, so it might be nice practice. You know, a goose has webbed feet. It's got kind of 3 toes, but then it's got skin in here between its toes. So when I draw that, I kind of just go straight down on the middle toe first of all, and then I do a toe off to the side, and a toe off to the other side, and then fill in a little bit in between, just like that. So there's one goose foot, and then I'll do another goose foot here. Do my straight toe down the middle, and a toe off to one side, and a toe off to the other side, and then put some skin in between them. I do a little bit of a curve here for the skin, but you don't have to. All right, there are my feet. And can you see I have one that looks bigger than the other one? That's okay. I might try to make this one a little bigger just to even them out some. But remember, we want to try our best, and however it turns out, it turns out. All right, so there I have it. I have my border, I have my letter, and I have my picture. So I'm going to go ahead and start adding in my background now. Now, if you wanted to, you could put the goose in a tree. Remember, he was found. The little gray man told Dimling to go to a certain tree, and there was the golden goose in the roots at the bottom of the tree. Or you could, I've had some students try to draw Dummling back behind him holding the goose, but that got a little tricky because of the arm trying to go over it. Some people have just drawn the goose, and then in the background they draw other pictures, like maybe, oh, they really like Dummling on that nifty boat that could go on land and on water. And so they've drawn Dummling on the boat just back behind the golden goose. Or they draw one of those girls trying to take one of the feathers. Sometimes they've even drawn the whole train of people. They draw Dummling with the goose, and then they draw the three girls back behind Dummling, and they draw the pastor and the pastor's helper and the two farmers, and then it just gets to be a lot. That's usually older students who do all that. I've never done that much of a picture. This story has a lot of parts to have in it, though, doesn't it? All right, I'm done up in that whole corner up there. And I'm continuing around here. And remember, when I get close to where I have my picture, I'm going to slow down my coloring a little bit because I don't want to accidentally color on top of my picture, right? Some people, they do that all over just to try to get done really fast. But then you've done all that work on the picture. You can't see your picture very well. All right, I'm going to come back up here inside my goose and color in this part because this is where I really want to make sure I don't get too much down into my yellow goose section. All right. Getting up and around the goose's neck. I have to do even a curve in there, don't I? And curves on the outside. Straight lines I find a lot easier than the curves. I have to think about these sometimes. All right. There's that. Now I'm going to be real careful here coming over the tail and the end of the G. All right. Here it is inside the body. All right, and then I'm going to go around and get up on top of its head. Now remember, you might be doing your background in a different way than I do. You might be working around the feet right now, or maybe you didn't do feet and you're just doing around the bottom of the goose. Or maybe you're doing one of the sides. That's fine, because you can get the background done in all sorts of different ways. This is a big white space, isn't it, to fill up? So just like you needed a lot of stamina for the Golden Goose story, and you're building stamina to do your reading time and read for longer. Remember how we use the 5-minute timer? And we keep reading with our books for 5 minutes straight, don't we? We build stamina in our minds when we work on getting all of our background colored. Anytime we have to just really focus and pay attention and keep going. Oh, when we really feel like stopping, we're building stamina then. And that's going to really help us in not just in school, but anytime. I bet if you talk to your mom or dad, they could talk to you about some times when they have really wanted to stop and they had to push hard to find their stamina and keep going. So I just about have the top half of my border done, and I notice here that this part looks a lot different than this part. So I'm going to see if I can blend them together. You know, I have not mixed any colors on this picture, have I? I almost always mix colors, and I haven't done that with this one. All right. So here we go. On down. Just about there. All right. So I have the whole top half finished, except I'm going to come in here because I just don't like the way that looks very much. So I'm going to go across and fill it in a little more smoothly. I don't know. You know, sometimes your pictures just don't turn out quite the way you want them to, do they? And I don't really like the way all this looks up here. To me, it probably looks fine to other people. I don't love it, but sometimes that happens with pictures. And we just keep going. It's okay to have some things not turn out exactly the way we want them to, even when we work hard on it. You know, sometimes grown-ups give us the idea that if we just worked hard on things and just concentrated and kept trying, then everything would work out great. And you know, you guys are already old enough to know that doesn't always work that way, does it? It would be nice if it would. But sometimes, even when you concentrate and you keep trying, it doesn't quite turn out the way that you wanted. And then you just say, you know what? I'll try again another time and see. All right, here we are. I'm almost down to foot level all the way around. And do you know what I just noticed? Look at my webbed feet there. I have a white gap in between my webbed feet. I need to go back and fill that in. You can go ahead and take a moment and take a look around at your background. Do you have any empty white spots like I just had right there that you might forget to fill in? All right, I'm going to work around the bottom of these feet, and then I'm going to be pretty much down to just this bottom section here by the border. All right. Now, you know what? I have done most of this background, starting at the top and coloring down. And you know, I think I might start going from the bottom to the top, because I can feel my stamina is starting to get kind of tired out from coloring all this white background. And I got to keep going on it. So I'm going to give it just a little switch up for my brain to have something new to think about. And instead of going from the top down, I'm going to go from the bottom up for a little while. All right. Oh, and here, do you see I'm having to curve around some more? And curves are a little more tricky for me. All right, there we go. Across here, and I'm going to curve this up some more. All right. I'm going to go across again a little bit more and curve it up a little bit more. All righty, here I go. I think back and forth just a couple more times will get this just about set for me. And do you know what I can hear? I can hear, do you know how your crayon starts to sound when the wax part, the crayon part, is getting rubbed down to the paper? I can hear on my crayon I'm just about there. But remember how we talk in school about working the whole time and not just stopping as soon as we think of something that we need to take care of? I'm going to get myself to finish all of this before I stop and take some of the wrapper off my crayon. All right, I did it, and I bet you're close. Now, I know sometimes people really want an eye on something. So if you do, remember the goose, we're kind of seeing it from its side. So it's just going to have the one eye because it's looking back over that way. There is my golden goose. I would guess you guys are just about done with yours. Remember to keep these at home in a safe place so that once we finish all of them, you can make your book.